All About Love, New Visions, by Bell Hooks. Picture a little girl who knew, deep in her bones, what it felt like to be cherished. And then, one day, without warning, that feeling just vanished. This was Bell Hooks' story. The author of today's book remembered that devastating shift, that sudden exile from what she beautifully calls love's paradise. And that wound. It never quite left her. But here's the thing. As she grew up and really looked around, she realized something profound. We're all carrying this wound. Every single one of us. We're living in this strange paradox. We're absolutely starving for love, yet somehow we're drowning in lovelessness. Think about it. We write songs about love, we make movies about love, we talk about it constantly. But deep down, most of us are quietly cynical that we'll ever truly find it. Remember that Tina Turner song, What's Love Got to Do with It? We nod along because it resonates. We've built these walls around our hearts because, let's be honest, we've seen the damage love can do. So we live in this weird state of hoping for love, while secretly believing it's just a beautiful fantasy. But here's where it gets interesting. All About Love isn't your typical self-help book. It's more like a treasure map written by someone who refused to accept that quiet despair. Bell Hooks looked at that heartbreak, that collective wound we all carry, and said, no, there has to be another way. And what she discovered changed everything. She found that our entire struggle with love comes down to one fundamental mistake. We think love is a feeling. We think it's this magical force that just happens to us, something completely beyond our control. But she's here to tell us we've got it all wrong. Love isn't a noun, it's a verb. It's not something you feel, it's something you do. It's a choice you make, again and again. And by the end of our time together today, you're going to have a definition of love so crystal clear, so transformative, it'll work like a compass, guiding you through every relationship in your life. Your family, your friendships, your romantic relationships, even the relationship you have with yourself. This is about healing. It's about finding our way back to the one thing that actually matters. This is all about love. So let's start at the beginning. If you want to learn how to practice love, you first need to be able to define it. You need to give love actual words. Because here's our problem. We're incredibly sloppy with this word. We use love for everything. I love pizza. I love this song. I love you. Same word, wildly different meanings. And this sloppiness, it's the source of all our confusion. Most people think love is about deep affection, or that rush of being in love. But that's not love. That's just one tiny ingredient. Bell Hooks searched for years for a better definition, and the one she finally found, the one that becomes the foundation of everything in this book, comes from psychiatrist M. Scott Peck. Here it is. Really let this sink in. Love is the will to extend one's self for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. Let's break that down, because every single word matters here. The will means it's a choice, an intention, not a feeling that washes over you, but a decision you actively make. You don't fall in love, you choose to love. To extend oneself means it requires effort. It's an action. You have to stretch beyond your comfort zone for the sake of another person, or even for yourself. Nurturing spiritual growth is the purpose. What does that mean? It's helping yourself and the person you love become your best, most whole, most authentic selves. Here's the simple truth. Love is as love does. If an action doesn't nurture growth, yours or someone else's, it's not love. Period. This definition is like turning on a bright light in a dark room. And the first thing it illuminates is the most dangerous lie we're ever taught. the lie that love and abuse can live together. Think about childhood. That's our first school of love. And for so many of us, that school was deeply dysfunctional. How many of us were punished as kids, maybe hit or shamed or humiliated, and then told, "I'm doing this because I love you"? Even as children, we knew something was off. An action that shames or hurts you cannot be loving, because it's the exact opposite of nurturing your growth. It's about domination, power, and control. Abuse and neglect are, by definition, the opposites of nurturing and care. This is the first powerful lesson. You cannot claim to love someone while you're hurting or abusing them. They simply cannot coexist. And this leads to the second principle. There can be no love without justice. Justice is about upholding people's rights. In a family, this means seeing children not as property to control, but as human beings with rights to be respected. When we parent with loving discipline, teaching boundaries and responsibility without coercion, shaming, or violence, we're teaching children what love actually means. But if our first school of love was broken, how do we build a new one? We start with the ingredients. Love, Bell Hooks tells us, is a combination of several elements. It's not just affection. It's a mix of care, affection, recognition, respect, commitment, and trust, along with honest and open communication. You can have affection without love. You can have care without love. But you cannot have true love if any of these ingredients are missing. And the ingredient that holds everything together, the one our culture struggles with most, honesty. You absolutely cannot have love without honesty. The heart of justice is truth-telling. We live in a culture that's become comfortable with lying. We tell white lies to spare feelings, or, more often, to avoid conflict for ourselves. But every time we lie, we chip away at the foundation of trust. And without trust, there's no intimacy. This is where we need to talk about power. In our culture, men are often socialized to lie as a way of gaining and maintaining power and control. They learn to hide their true feelings, to wear a mask of toughness and control. Women are often socialized to lie differently, to pretend, to act weak or agreeable or less intelligent than they are, wearing a false self to please others and manipulate situations. Both of these are forms of dishonesty. Both make love impossible. This brings us to an important distinction, the difference between privacy and secrecy. Privacy is healthy. We all need space to be alone with our thoughts and feelings. Privacy actually strengthens bonds because it means we trust each other. Secrecy, though, that's about hiding and concealing information. It's about power. Secrets are toxic. They're a form of lying, and they create the perfect conditions for betrayal. To be loving, we need the courage to tell the truth, to ourselves and to others. We need to be willing to reveal our true selves, rough edges and all. And when we're honest, we can finally confront the biggest obstacle to love in our world, the will to dominate. This is one of the most profound ideas in the book. Bell Hooks quotes psychoanalyst Carl Jung, who said, "Where the will to power is paramount, love will be lacking." You cannot have both. You must choose. A patriarchal culture, one built on the idea that one group should dominate another, is by its very nature a culture that fears love. It teaches men that their value comes from being in control, from being on top, from not feeling or expressing emotion. This cuts them off from their own hearts and from their capacity to love. It teaches women to accept this domination in exchange for love, which is really just a form of care or provision. But this isn't love, it's a power struggle. And it cannot lead to the mutual spiritual growth that love requires. This drive for power isn't just in our relationships, it's in our economy. This brings us to the next great obstacle, greed. We live, she says, in a culture of pathological narcissism. We're taught from birth that things matter more than people. We're spiritually empty, aching for connection, aching for love, and we try to fill that emptiness with consumption. We think, I may not have love, but I can always shop. This greed makes us treat people like objects. We start seeing relationships as transactions. We think, what am I getting out of this? We treat partners like they're disposable. If someone isn't meeting our needs right now, we throw them away and find another. This is the tyranny of marketplace values. It's the opposite of love, which requires commitment and generosity. And this is what leads to so much addiction in our world. Addiction, whether to substances, shopping, or even sex, is a desperate search for pleasure and relief from the pain of our spiritual emptiness. Addiction makes love impossible, because the addict's primary relationship is with their drug of choice, not with a person. So the world we live in is confusing. It teaches us lies in childhood, encourages dishonesty, and is obsessed with power and greed. It's a wilderness. How do we find our way home? The path begins with the most important relationship you'll ever have, the one with yourself. The foundation of all loving practice is self-love. You've heard the saying, if you don't love yourself, you can't love anyone else. It sounds nice, but what does it actually mean? Just like love for others, self-love isn't a feeling, it's an action. It's the will to extend yourself to nurture your own spiritual growth. It means taking responsibility for your own life. It means living consciously, thinking critically about your life and the world. It means self-acceptance, learning to stop listening to that negative voice constantly judging you. It means self-assertiveness, the willingness to stand up for yourself and be who you are, openly. And it means living purposefully, choosing work and a lifestyle that aligns with your values and enhances your well-being. One of the most practical ways to practice self-love? Give yourself the love you're dreaming of receiving from someone else. If you're waiting for a partner to come along and affirm your worth, to accept you just as you are, you must first give that acceptance and affirmation to yourself. When you're filled up with your own love, you can finally reach out to others from a place of fullness, not from a place of lack and need. And when you do, you'll discover the next step, community. Love cannot flourish in isolation. We learn to love by being in loving communion with others. And what's the best school for learning this? Friendship. Think about it. In our friendships, we choose to practice all the ingredients of love. We practice care, respect, trust, and honesty. We learn to navigate conflict and differences while staying connected. Friendship is where many of us get our first glimpse of real, redemptive love. The skills we learn in loving friendships are exactly the skills we need for loving romantic relationships. But to be a good friend and community member, you first need to know how to be alone. This is the vital difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is the pain of being alone. Solitude is the joy and peace of being alone. When we're afraid of being alone, we use other people as an escape. But when we learn to embrace solitude, we can be with others without clinging to them. We can respect their uniqueness. This is how we build healthy community. And in that community, we practice mutuality. This, she says, is the heart of love. Mutuality is the antidote to the power struggles of patriarchy. It's recognizing that in a loving relationship, each person's growth matters equally. It's a practice of mutual generosity, a constant, joyous flow of giving and receiving. It's a practice of forgiveness. Forgiveness is an act of generosity. It's how we release anger and blame. and it opens us up to receive love again. Now, what about romance? Our culture is obsessed with the fantasy of romantic love. We're taught to wait for the one, for that perfect passion. We believe we'll fall in love. This idea is one of the most destructive in our history. Why? Because it removes choice. If we just fall, we're not responsible. It's magic. It's fate. And if it's a feeling, well, feelings come and go. This is why we fail at romantic love. We haven't learned the art of loving. We mistake that initial click, that powerful erotic attraction, for love itself. But erotic attraction isn't love. You can have incredible, passionate sex with someone you don't love, and you can have a deep, lifelong love with someone where the sexual passion has faded. Sexual pleasure enhances love, but it's not the foundation of it. The real romance isn't in the falling. The real romance is in the work. It's the work of two people seeing each other as they really are, without masks. It's the work of communicating, of being honest, of nurturing each other's growth. Bell Hooks asks us to change our language. Instead of saying, "I'm in love," what if we said, "I am loving," or "I will love"? This small shift changes everything. It moves us from being passive victims of a feeling to being active, courageous participants in an action. This is the only path to what she calls true love. True love isn't a fairy tale. It's not an escape from difficulties. True love thrives on difficulties because it's a commitment to grow through them. This path isn't easy. It means facing our old wounds. And this is the final, beautiful promise of the book. Love heals. We're all wounded. Many of us carry wounds from childhood, places where we were shamed, where we were taught we were unworthy of love. Shame breaks our hearts and keeps us from healing. We're afraid to even speak our pain. But love gives us the courage to face that pain. There's a powerful story from the Bible that Bell Hooks loves, about Jacob wrestling with an angel. All night they struggle, and just before dawn the angel wounds Jacob in his hip, but also gives him a blessing. The lesson is this: the wound is the blessing. Embracing our wound is the only way to heal. When we can finally look at our own suffering, our own brokenness with compassion, that's when healing begins. That's when we can forgive ourselves and others. That's when we can be born again. We're not meant to be alone in this. All around us, she says, there are angels, guardian spirits who guide us. Sometimes they're unseen, but often they're human. They're the enlightened witnesses who showed us kindness as children. They're the friends who listen. They're the authors, like Bell Hooks herself, who write books that feel like a lifeline when we're drowning. These angels are everywhere, speaking to our hearts in a secret language, whispering the same message. Love is our true destiny. We don't find the meaning of life by ourselves alone. We find it with another. In a world full of fear, cynicism, and lovelessness, we must be courageous. We must choose love. It's the only way to enter paradise. And paradise, she tells us, is our home. Wow, that's quite a journey, isn't it? When you really sit with the ideas and all about love, you realize just how radical this book is. It's not a gentle, feel-good pat on the head. It's a challenge. It's a manifesto. It asks us to stop lying to ourselves. The most powerful lesson for me, the one that truly changes everything, is that simple, profound definition. Love is an action dedicated to growth. Once you have that compass, you can't unsee it. You start looking at your own life, your own relationships, with a new filter. You can finally ask the real questions. Is this action I'm about to take loving? Is it nurturing my own growth? Is it nurturing theirs? Is this relationship I'm in loving, or is it a power struggle? Is it built on honesty, or on secrets and pretense? Is the way I talk to myself loving, or is it a voice of shame, the one I learned as a child? This book matters so much right now because we live in a world obsessed with me and terrified of we. We're more connected by technology and more isolated in our hearts than ever before. Bell Hooks gave us a way back. She reminded us that love isn't a prize to be won. It's a home to be built. It's the daily, courageous, and sometimes difficult practice of care, respect, trust, and honesty. So how can you start building that home today? Here are 3 simple ways to begin practicing. First, learn the definition. I'm serious. Write it down. The will to extend one's self for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. Put it somewhere you can see it. For the next week, run your choices through that filter. It will change how you see your day. Second, practice love in your friendships. We often put all our love energy into finding a romantic partner. Forget that for now. Pick one friendship. This week, practice active love. Listen with your full attention, without planning what you're going to say next. Be courageously honest and respectful. Offer your care, not just your words, but your time and your help. Friendship is our best training ground. Third, become an enlightened witness for yourself. Think back to your first school of love. What was one lesson you learned about love that might be wrong? Maybe you learned that love was conditional, that you had to earn it. Maybe you learned that love was loud and full of conflict. Just see it. Acknowledge it. You don't have to be defined by it. The simple act of seeing it is the beginning of healing. You can choose to unlearn it and learn this new way. This path isn't a quick fix. It's the work of a lifetime, but it's the only work that matters. It's the work of healing our hearts, our communities, and our world. It's the work of returning to love. That was our journey through All About Love by Bell Hooks. We've touched on the foundational ideas today, but I'll be honest with you. A summary can only ever be a map. The real magic happens when you walk the territory yourself. It's in the quiet moments when a particular story or a simple phrase hits you in a way you didn't expect. This conversation is designed to help you decide if this book is worth your precious time. If anything we've talked about today has sparked a light in you, if it felt true in your bones, then please grab a copy. Reading it isn't just learning. It's an experience. It can genuinely change the way you see yourself and every single person in your life. The link to the book is in the description. Also, if you found this summary valuable and you want to keep exploring the most powerful ideas from the world's greatest thinkers, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It lets me know that this work matters, and it ensures you won't miss our next journey into another life-changing book. Thank you for your time. Let's keep growing together.